Hello, everybody. Today, our group is going to present the true story of RQ to all of you. This is the story by Lu Shun. Hope you all enjoy it. Here is some background information of Lu Shun. He was born on 25th September 1881. He was a very famous Chinese writer, editor, translator, literary critic, essay writer, and also a poet. He came from a family of landlords and government officials, but his family experienced financially decline during his youth. He went to medical school in Japan, but he returned to China. It's because he thinks that healing one's heart is more important than healing one's health. And he is also a famous leftist in the May 4th movement. It was first published in 1921. The story took place before and after the Revolution of 1911, which was also known as the Xinhai Revolution, which aimed at overthrowing the last imperial dynasty and setting up a replicant government. However, the revolution came to failure. After that, the May 4th movement began with a student protest in Beijing. The protagonist RQ tried to represent the traditional Chinese who couldn't face the tragic living status and used the spiritual victory to numb their faults. It also drew legitimacy and interpretive power from the social and ideological conflicts of modern China, which was going backward. RQ is a 30-year-old man who is a village idler who is continuously defeated in his life. He has no specific occupation, but he frequently works for Chiu's family in Wuchang village. He always gets self-motivated by his spiritual moral victory, and he hates imitation foreign devil, who is Mr. Chen's the eldest son. He wants to join the revolution as he believes it could bring him wealth and fame. Finally, he is sentenced to death by the local government. First, regarding the plurality of truth, if we can see there are different meanings of happiness. RQ's moral victory is always used as a will to overcome some dangerous or humiliating situation. He always used some stupid way to numb himself. And also, he back to his comfort zone by acting ridiculous and forgetful. After returning to the village, RQ regards himself as being successful by being a petty thief. He is gaining more power, money, status, and fame by selling the silk shirts. There are multiple meanings of success even doing something illegal in the story.
In RQ's moving from the rural to the city, and RQ moved to work in the city so as to gain status and privilege, especially that he was being forced away from the people after his incident when he wants to have an affair with the maid. In a short period of time, people have changed their attitudes towards RQ, and only because they believe RQ works in an imperial scholar family in the city. And this time when RQ returned, he was very different from before, and people are astonished. They think that there is something unusual about RQ, but they treat him with better respect. And it is very different from the RQ once who was wearing ragged coat. RQ is the same person, but people have uphold a different attitude, and RQ has a new identity in their eyes. And people are fascinated about the Western culture found in the city. Qin, a wealthy class in the village, has sent his child to a foreign school in the city. He was being despised by RQ and saying that he is a fake foreigner. There is a possibility that RQ is a little bit envy about this child. Also, we can see that there is no unified philosophy of life that accounts for all experiences. We can see a change in RQ's ideas and attitudes. When personal sexual desires outweighs respect of women, there are three forms of unfilial conduct, of which the worst is to have no descendants, and is one of the tragedies of life that spirits without descendants will go hungry. And to begin with, RQ was a man of strict morals, and he observed strict segregation of the sex. But in the end, he wants to sleep with the one in the master family, and Akio suddenly rushed forward and threw himself at the maid's feet, and it caused a moment of absolute silence. And also, money and repenting from starving outweighs moral values. Akio could ignore his complaints from the other one, but when he began very hungry, it seems to be a curse to him. And when he is being compared with Yang Di, and he began to be very angry, and he thinks that this low fellow will steal his living from him. As a result, he steals the turnips. And this shows that Akio's inability to uphold the strict moral standards, and money is the most important thing to him.
Here comes to the connections we see to other texts that we read over the course of the semester. The story setting of Mrs. Dalloway and the true story of Akio is similar. Both of the stories are set in the post-war period. However, the characters' attitude towards their lives after the war is quite different. People in the true story of Akio are still affected by social unrest. They think that revolution usually brings dangers and instability. They are scared of the revolutionaries. As for people in Mrs. Dalloway, they seem to have recovered from the war. People walk around in London streets and enjoy activities as if there were no wars before. The streets are crowded every evening too. The supporting characters of the true story of Akio and Metamorphosis show similarity in their values. Akio used not to be welcomed by others as they thought that he was a failed person. But when he returns to the village from the city, people in the village welcome him due to his experience. As in Metamorphosis, Gregor is originally valued by his family as he works hard to pay off his father's debt and care for his family. When he loses his ability to earn money, his family members look down on him and do not respect him. In short, some common perspectives appears in Akio and other two pieces of literature, Mrs. Dalloway and Metamorphosis.
Thank you for your kind attention.